Hello, guys. Welcome to the Lab Podcast. I hope you guys are having a very beautiful week, and you're going to have a very beautiful and very fulfilling weekend. I hope the January is taking you very well, and we really wanted to thank you for being together with the Lab Podcast family and also Smart Talk Cafe family. Thank you so much for joining us. This is your host, as usual, Andati Morris. And today I really want to talk about something that is really affecting us as citizens, so maybe of Kenya, or as human beings, and it is something that is really deep into my heart, and that is mental health, and mental health amongst the young people, mental health amongst the older people, mental health amongst every single citizen, and how it is really affecting our development as at a personal level and also at a community level. Because when you look at the statistics that we get today, number one, maybe we can talk about the suicide that every day you're listening. It is something that I've come to notice. Maybe so many people are not really concentrated on it, but when you look at news today, every single day, especially in Kenya, you hear about suicides, you hear about people killing other people, you hear about what do you call marriages breaking, and people killing one another, especially the husbands killing the wives, or vice versa, and at the end of the day, those who have perpetrated the issue, the crime, are committing suicides in one or another, bring out a very distinctive thing in my mind, looking at the current situation when you're talking about mental health, especially amongst the young male, and also the male, the male who are in our society today, because you find them, and you're looking at the statistics, they are the highest percentage of people who are being affected with mental health. But when you look at the systems that have been created in order to help them, or in order to create a solution to them, those systems are really not either not working, or they really don't exist, especially for someone who is practicing counseling psychology. I will really say that those systems really don't exist, even not only just specifically for men, also the mental health awareness platform, where people can come and have a discussion in schools, and we're talking about where places of work, because maybe someone can tell me if where they're working, or the offices they're working, they're having a department of counseling, where you can come and have a discussion around it. If maybe you have, maybe you can let me know. But when you look at the effect that has come up based on just the little clues here and there that we have talked about earlier, you find that 1.9 million people in Kenya alone, only in Kenya alone, are the ones who are affected with mental health, which means so many people are affected with mental health. And just the statistics that are being collected with those who share that information, 1.9 million of them are affected with the mental health, and from the 1.9 million, 58% of them are men. So which means that is a very big problem, especially affecting the gender, the male gender, having 58% of the total number, the 1.9 million, being men who are affected by mental health, specifically looking at things to do with the depression. And you look at this is a systematic thing that has been there. That's why I feel very sad. Mimi nimejam sana when most of the time kitu yenye tunasikia tu ni politics, watu wanaongelea politics, and we are trying to forget about what is really happening in the society right now. Number one, you're talking right now, you see I'm talking about mental health. Number two, look into the increased number of crime amongst young people, especially for those who have gone in school, which means when this generation was out, when they were out of schools, whatever they were engaging in is something that is so much questionable. The highest number, when you're looking at every day, you are hearing either there is a suicide, or number two, a student has stabbed another student, or he has carried a knife, or he has carried a panga, or looking at how they're solving issues just in the basis of an 8-month break from school. And you can see how people are behaving and how it is really affecting the day-to-day running of the society. But it is something that people are really brushing away and not really focusing on how they can help these different people. So going back to the topic and really focusing on men, and you find several men are really affected really affected with mental health issues, is in the basis of, number one, the appearance, them being men, them being focused majorly on the masculinity, the negative effects of masculinity, where they are constantly being told, or being advised that they need to be strong, and they need not to show that little weakness. That's bringing in or bring out the aspect of men being superhumans, which is something that is a very big problem. With its effects, having men being left alone to tackle issues to do with mental health, and you find them tackling these different traumas, looking at the past of where they're coming from, looking at the present, where we are now living in an era of COVID-19, where there is no work, where people are not working, where other businesses are going to close, where you find these are the men who are among the sole breadwinners in their families, where now they don't have these jobs, they don't have all these things, but because of the stereotypes that have been put in the society, where men are strong, and now bring in the little bit of toxic masculinity, where now they start having very bad coping mechanisms. So they looking at ways, and how can we create coping mechanisms. So what will I do? Maybe I'll go to drink, maybe I'll use this drug. And you find for them, mostly they end up going they are at the worst road, where now the suicide level, especially amongst the men, being very high, where now they're killing their families, they're killing themselves, they're killing different people. And at the end of the day, the problem is still not checked, you see. So at the end of the day, we need to look for a way how we can break out that masculinity. For the past, we have been talking about identity crisis, and how identity is bringing out different aspects of development, and how we can develop, and it does not guarantee success. And you find this kind of masculinity, where now men are now encroaching to a specific identity, and the characteristics that are given based on that specific identity really doesn't affect them positively in terms of mental health. Now this brings in very many challenges that we're having today: increased number of gender-based violence, where now you find most people, especially for those who are at family level, these issues that they are going through, maybe at work, or maybe he has woken up going to look for job, or he has woken up going to look for this, and he hasn't gotten. So you find now whatever he has gone through outside now, because he doesn't have a space, or where he can come talk about, discuss around it, where there are no systems that have created to support this specific gender in terms of development and also moving forward, especially when talking about their mental capacity, and also the emotional quotient. You find now these are the things that they bring back to the family, and now leading to gender-based violence, where now men are fighting with women, people are fighting over every place and everywhere. And you find this is because of, number, that embarrassment, where they don't want to talk about it. And you find 49% of people who are depressed, especially the men, do not share. So you find 49% of people that you meet every single day are going through depression, are going through a lot of pressure, but they do not share. Because why are they not sharing? Number one, the masculinity. Whom am I? I'm a man, I need to be strong. Then kitu ingine tunaangalia also, looking at also the economical impact, especially of I'll talk about here in Kenya, on the jobs being the job market being changing, in terms of moving towards a certain aspect where it was not normal for several people, and so many people really didn't get to engage in supporting such kind of things. So you find 49% of them won't share because they don't want to be seen as people are going through a lot of problems. And number two, and looking at also the mechanisms that now have been created in order to support these people going through such kind of issues are not there. So the expectations of society consequently has resulted to so many people, to so many men opting to commit suicide. Let me commit suicide because if I talk about all these things, then at the end of the day people want no one is going to listen. Mimi na nitasema huyu hapa Kenya, especially hapa Kenya, mwanaume akitoka anza kusema vile ako depressed na vile ako chini mazee, people wataweza kumwambia bana, kwa mwanaume songa mbele, be strong, be a better person, be a better person every single day. So what will he do? So he will cover, he will mask whatever he's going through in life, and at the end of the day when he has already masked that, it goes back to his subconscious mind. When it goes back to his subconscious mind, these little triggers, he'll go at home, he wants to eat, maybe a small trigger, something small, someone says something that he really didn't want to hear at that moment that moment. So you find that now this is going to blow out, and when it has already blown out, you find you find that now they start getting now affected with all these things. And to bring it to context on how this thing has reached to this moment, you look at having 61% of Kenyans feeling very lonely, especially when COVID-19 came, and when looking at its impact until here when we are in 2021. You find that from the statistics that have been collected using the East African magazine, especially, you will see that 61% of Kenyans feel lonely, where now they're not working. They used to go to work, now they're not working. They used to engage in hustles here and there, maybe for those who are running clubs, for those who are employed at night, for those who are having night shifts. Now we are having hizi vitu za nitwangaje, curfew inaendelea kusonga, and it is having a very negative impact to these people. So for those who are feeling lonely, so they're just seated at home, there's nothing that they're doing. Then 52% feel helpless. But new statistics mi nashtua bana, 56% feeling helpless. These are people who, number one, they were doing something into the society, and right now they cannot do it. They were feeling they grew up in a society where they were told men should be strong and men should be do this and this, but the same society is also shunning men and telling them that they're taking advantage of the system for them being men, and disadvantaging another gender. So you find the systematic changes that are being made are not in the balance, but they're not pushing the society towards equilibrium, but they're also pushing the society towards it leaning towards one section, where one section is being overpowered and the other over empowered, and the other section is being less empowered, bring a little bit of a systematic change. And this also brings in a negative effect, especially on the personal growth, especially amongst young people today, when now we have very low self-esteem, where even if I am a failure, I cannot show that I'm a failure, especially for me as a man, based on the society that I'm living. So I have to prove myself over and over and over and over and over again. But now the society that I'm trying to also prove over and over and over again is also creating so many barriers in terms of equality, and also not in the basis of equity, but in the basis of equality. Now also bring on a lot of turmoil. Then from that to those who are feeling helpless, and when you're looking at the economical, and also looking at also the social, and also looking at the family or grown up aspects of where did he grow, what kind of environment did they grow, did he grow in an environment where people were fighting every single day, and because of that the only way he could solve, or he could keep out the demons of him, it is just by him or her going to sit in a corner and not talking to anyone, and not having a specific space where you can share whatever is affecting you in terms of your mental upbringing. So it brings out a sense of helplessness, and also brings out a sense of low self-esteem, bring in a very big problem when it comes to mental health. then now we're looking at also 33% of these people, or Kenyans especially, are feeling angry when looking at the political environment, or looking at also the economical environment, and also looking at also the developmental aspects of environment. And when you're looking at such kind of things, then now you're understanding why is it really becoming a very big problem. Maze, people are killing each other every single day here in Kenya, and no one wants to talk about it. And no one wants to talk about it because it is touching on a very specific issue, mental health. Something where, number one, people fearing what kind of systems do we have. That's why I always tell people, and I always tell several men, the systems are not there, but it is very good to be normal, but do not. It is good. It is very good to be to be normal. It is very good to be strong. It is very good to be to show yourself to be as strong, especially when you're coming to the species of as human and Homo erectus. It is very good to be so strong, but at the end of the day, do not die, or do not become inactive, or do not become what do we, I cannot say sustainable. I'll talk about you cannot sustain yourself in one way or another. You cannot say that you're strong and number one, you're dying. If it is coming from the inside all the way until outside, you're inactive, you cannot work, you cannot do anything. But now you're still just stuck on the on you proving that you're a little bit strong, bring about a very big problem. So we need to look at what kind of space are we living in order to make sure that we do not push towards this problem. So now we'll have now low self-esteem amongst different people. We have guilt, excessive guilt, because I always tell people even men feel guilt. Every single person in the world, when you're doing something, it is not 100% that is going to come out at as the best, but at the end of the day you might have tried. But the sense of you have to always be better, you have to always show that yours is a little bit better than the other, is also something. That's that expectation, having a very high expectation of who you are, and you haven't reached that point. I always maybe I'll bring in a little bit of an aspect of the entrepreneurial environment here in Africa. I have met several people who say they're experts on something who are not experts on anything. When you sit down and start talking to them, they're not experts on anything. Just the same way when it comes to emotions. So many people want to feel or want to be seen as okay, and they're running their things very well and very normally. But number one, they're feeling excessive guilt. Maybe something happened somewhere, and you cannot show, you cannot say as a man, maybe you're weak. There is something that is happening in your life, and just because you're going to talk about it and it is going to show you as a weak person in the society, then at the end of the day you won't say it. So you end up having a sense of worthlessness, a sense of hopelessness. When you're looking at also the shift, the systematic shift when it comes to economic empowerment between the two genders, it also affects the genders in terms of negatively, in terms of emotions, where one gender sees that the system is trying to push one more than the other, which shouldn't be seen in that way. But because let's say you're only focusing on one side, no, forgetting that also this other gender took a very big role in terms of making this other gender being at the lowest point when it comes to the society, it comes to development in terms of society. When you ignore that the two sides need to be discussed and given, it really affects the side that you don't empower, because the other side that is not empowered starts seeing that this other side looks like it is fighting, and maybe that is not what maybe that is not what is being, it should be portrayed, or what should have happened, or the end product of those people who are having the empowerment programs. That is not what they really want to do. But you find, because you have disenfranchised this other gender, this one, the negative effect is going to be this other side is going now to start fighting the other gender. This is something, and it is proof because for years and years and years and years, so many people have been saying that men have been being pushed forward in terms of systems, and you have seen the effect that it has brought, where now women walikuwa na low self-esteem, the system, people are taking advantage of them, and like we have already seen the results of having a system that is not systematically empowered. And are we doing opposite, and are we doing the opposite by making sure it is balanced? No, we are not doing. We are just doing the same. We are what do we call the solutions that they created a long time ago? We're just doing the same thing, and it is also going to bring a little bit of an imbalance when it comes to the system. Now bring in a sense of worthlessness and hopelessness, also bringing things to do with irritability, and also often having the suicidal thoughts. Oh, I want to do this, I do not feel like I'm a man, I do not feel like this, and I do not have the system. The society is going to view me as a person. I'll give an example. I have a friend. I have a friend in in Homa Bay. We went to visit. We had a problem of GBV, gender-based violence, in a certain in a homestead, one of the homesteads that we were engaging, and we were training on community economical development, and the neighbor is the one who called us because of the problem, and he said that every night he used to hear scuffling and people were fighting on the other neighbor's house, and he was a little bit concerned. And for him, his concern was maybe the woman was being beaten, or there was something that was going on, and the woman was being beaten or something of the sort. But when we went to the family, we found out it was the opposite. So the man was the one who was being beaten every single time. So he used to go to work, come back home, he finds the wife was just seated. The wife would ask him for money, or what has he done, what has he brought today. And you would find that there are some days that he would go to hustle and he wouldn't get anything. He would come back home, maybe he has not been paid, maybe there is one or two issues that have come up at the work, but he wouldn't, because of the environment that he was living in, he wouldn't come and just say, oh, today boss wangu maybe hakunipatia pesa, ama leo kulikuwa na hii issue, ama leo hatukulipwa. So you found that because he couldn't do that, he will come, keep quiet, and now whatever it ended up him being a victim of gender-based violence. And it became very difficult for him to start sharing issues to do with gender-based violence, because he told us, in the system that he's living in and in the culture that he's living in, he needs to be the man, he needs to be the strong person. So he used to go through this every single day, and it had pushed him to a point where he had stopped to go to the work that he used to go, because he felt that the him being not being paid at the work was really it was bringing a negative effect in his family, where now he was being beaten by the wife. He ended up leaving the job, making the situation even worse for him, because now he used to sit in the house, and also the wife is sitting in the house, bringing a lot of problems. Now they're fighting every single time. And our biggest question was, why did he not report it earlier? And he said he couldn't report because he would have been seen as a weak person, or a weak man in terms of the society that we're living in. So he ended up accepting being beaten every day, having conflict every day, fighting every day, just not to show the society that he is amongst the weak in the society, bringing a very, 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 very big problem. So he was being beaten. And through that change, I came to realize that so many men are going through so much, but they don't want to share. Is it because of the society we are living in? Maybe those who are listening to me today can let me know at the comment section. Is it that we are running away from who we are supposed to be? Maybe. I can say. Maybe I can. For me, I'll say that we need to change in terms of how we are moving toward, we are viewing mental health, especially amongst the young, especially amongst the men. Because for number one, I'll break down the categories of how it really affects the men. Number one, I'll talk about the biology, the genetical factors which determines one predispositions or risk of getting a particular illness. And you find then that the brain development of a person really affects the nervous system. So number one, the environment that you grew up in. What kind of environment did you grow up in? If you grew up in an environment where your parents were fighting every single day, the cycle will continue until the day you come and find an emotional what do we call help, psychological help, where now you need to go through these demons and let it come out of your subconscious, because people don't realize that if you live in a family where gender-based violence is a norm, where the husband beats the woman every single day, when you grow up as a man and you do not have another view of life, that is the same thing that you're going to be doing on your wife, because the only thing that you know in your mind in terms of solving a problem between you and your wife is through fighting, because that is what you've been seeing every single time. And you find men really, especially young boys, really cope with whatever they see their fathers do. If they see their fathers, when an issue comes up in the family and the only way the father would have solved the problem is going to drink and comes up, for him he will see as this is the best way, because that is the role model that he has in terms of growing. So you find that is what he's going to do, and it will really affect his psychological growth, bringing in a very bad coping mechanism, because I saw my father taking alcohol when issues came, and that is how it helped him solve. So how can I? So let me do the same. I can do the same. I saw my mom. The only way she could solve a problem is by fighting and being showing herself as an alpha female at the household in order to solve a problem. I, as a girl, when I'm growing up, what should I show? So the only thing I will be showing is I need to be the alpha woman in the house, so that at the end of the day things can move forward, because that is the reality that I have in my mind. That is my reality, not the reality of other people or other victims that are going to go through my hands. And until the day that I can get psychological help so that it can move away from my subconscious mind, then I will continue with the same cycle. Just the same way as people in a relationship. If your ex was a narcissist and you did not come and solve that issue one way or another, the probability of you moving with the same character, of especially his character in terms of narcissism, towards the next relationship is at a very high point, more than 60%, because you are going to do the same thing, because that is the norm that you've gotten used to. That's why it is very important. It is very important for people to go through psychological help as they grow in life, especially the young men, when looking at their biological growth and their mental growth. There's men and women are very different in terms of their emotional growth and their brain growth. And you find men are really affected, because for us it is a little bit slow, and you find we get, especially the poor coping mechanisms. Our minds really find very poor coping mechanisms, leading to very bad what do you call characters, and how we are going to solve issues in terms of our families. So these are things that really affect men, the growth. So you're talking about the biological growth, the mental growth of in med. So at the end of the day, also in terms of their biological, being able to express themselves emotionally has been for several years, has been something that has not been encouraged. So you find that they really push so many things towards their subconscious, because they cannot freely talk about whatever they're feeling or whatever they're thinking, because if if they talk about it or they voice their issues, especially the long time ago, they would have been met highly with outright hostility, or they will be labeled as chauvinism. Hmm? I hope I said it right. people listening to me. Huyu jamaa amejikaza hapo sana. So a little bit of nini, chauvinism. So you find, so people they start normalizing. They normalize the problems. They normalize the male, the effects of male and how they're being affected in terms of their mental health. So, so they normalize it. So it becomes a normal thing. They now bring in negative. So you have now this negative masculinity, where now a mind finds, if life is putting me down, then at the end of the day I need to look for a way how I can also put another person, just the same way how what do you call it? This thing that happens in South Africa where they fight other Africans. So if you have gone through a system where it really depresses or it really puts you down, the only effect that you feel you can react to the same system is through violence, because you need also to put your position in that system. If the levels of system, I'll give an example, especially appetite in terms of color. If you are at the lowest bar every single time, you need, when you find someone who comes who's the same of you, it is highly likely you're going to put the same pressure that it is being put to you, but those people who are higher, you're going to put it on the other person in order also to show dominance. So you find now you have violence. So we have increased in terms of violence, especially amongst the men. Then also I always talk about, when you're talking about psychology, men are very, can I call it rational, or can I call it, men really are undisagreeable. They're not easily agreeable on things when it comes to society, and men are made that way. It is not easy to convince a man to do something, buy land. Your system lazima take long, because he has to do so many things. So men are not naturally agreeable. So you find for those who are find at the lowest spectrum, especially in agreeableness, you find that the ones who are really affected in terms of mental health, because you have to prove so much for them to agree. You see, and it is naturally for men. So you find the society that we're living in, if you're not agreeable at a very high rate, it becomes really disadvantageous for you as a person. So you find you're going to go through a lot of systematic problems, and you have to solve so much problems in order for the society to accept you as a person. And the female are so much agreeable, although both have the negative. For men, the mental aspect of that is going to be at a very high negative rate. For women, being agreeable also gives an opportunity for people to take advantage of them, because it is they can agree. So when it comes to salaries, I can pay you less because you want to work, so it is easy for agreeable, which really also comes into affect when you're talking about gender equality, and also gender equality, and how it is really affecting them in terms of growth and development, them as being women in the society that we are living in today. So from all these discussions, what can we get out of it? So number one, we need to start accepting that men go through mental health problems, and they need to have a system where we need to talk about this. We need to give them that opportunity to talk. The society has become very negative, especially in Kenya. Mwambia watu bana tutoke from politics, tuanze kuongelea about vitu zenye zinatu affect directly. We cannot have a system or a society where men are becoming weak, and we want this system to grow, and we want this system. There is no woman out here who wants to marry a man who is deficiency in one way or another, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to development, when it comes to his thinking capacity. You need someone his thinking capacity is very strong in order to move forward. And having such kind of people doesn't mean that they cannot be weak in one aspect or two aspects in terms of them living in a society. it is far from the truth. The truth is, the more I accept the weakness that I have, the more I know myself, the more I become stronger and better, because I'm looking for solutions to solutions to the problems that I'm having, in terms of the ones that are making me weak, so that tomorrow I can be stronger, in terms of emotional, in terms of physical, so that now we can start reducing these things to do with gender-based violence. I will tell you, every single day you can wake up here in Kenya and go to the media, and you will see a man kills the wife. At the end of the day, he commits suicide. Policemen killing other policemen just because of maybe a girlfriend. You see, the solutions or the coping mechanisms that are being chosen, or these people are taking as their way forward, are very negative, basing on they would have taken another choice and they will be better. They will be a better person, and also the other person will be alive. So you find this person has built something has built something, emotional attachment. Because I always tell people, men are very emotional. Hata kama wanawake wanasema wako emotional, even men are very emotional, and we also, as men, we need also to accept that. So you find that you have invested so much emotion in such kind of a relationship, then maybe the man cheats in a relationship, and the society expects you as a woman to be okay, to move forward as fast as you can, but you can't, because it was emotional. Also, the man, he has invested his life, he has invested his hustle, he has invested his emotions into such kind of thing. So what is if this thing doesn't move forward, what is the solution? Do you have a place where these people can come and talk? Do you have a place where they can be helped in terms of the journey, from them to move from their lowest point in life to the highest point in life? Do you have such kind of a system, so that now we do not have now the negative effects now spreading, when we have more gender-based violence? We now have men raping their children, we have now men sodomizing their sons, where now we have several things that are just an effect of one specific thing: emotional quotient, being free emotionally. I always tell people, freedom is very wide, and freedom does not come if you are not emotionally free. And the only way you can be emotionally free is people understanding that in every aspect of life. Even animals have emotional stress. For a parrot, when a parrot has emotional stress, it starts removing its feathers. It also has emotions, which also brings out stress. How are we making sure that we are having, these men are finding these solutions? So if we have these solutions, then we are going to start having now reduced issues to do with gender-based violence, because now they have a system on how to solve problems. If you have a problem, we have a counselor we can go to talk to. If I cannot sit down with you and have a discussion on whatever issues is affecting us today, or whatever is affecting me that is ending up affecting you in this relationship that we have, then at the end of the day, we have a counselor or a person that we can go to, sit down, have our emotional cleansing, and at the end of the day, when you've already had our emotional cleansing, we can move forward and have the next step. Because you can never solve a problem either in a relationship or anywhere by just keeping quiet and trying to move forward. That doesn't guarantee success. That doesn't guarantee that at the end of the day we are going to have a solution towards this particular problem. Number one, we bring, so that we can cut off these masculinity issues, where now people understand that you need to have psychological help in order to move forward. Number two, the pressures that we're going in life as men, and especially and also boys who are living in the world today. My father always tells me, as a boy who is living in the world today, and he always tells me, number one, do not put so much in your to-do list just to prove you that you are a man, so that you can be seen doing so many things. Do not do that. Number two, do not put a pressure so much on yourself to prove that you are a man to anyone or any society. So that at the end of the day, you live knowing that you are a normal person living in this society, and whatever effects and impacts that the society is giving you, you're looking to solution, not in the basis of I'll be seen as a weak person in the society, but in the basis of I have a problem and I need a solution, and I can solve this, and I can get this solution. Number two, men being accepting the fact that I am low in terms of my emotion doesn't prove that I am weak. Maybe I'm the strongest person in that in that room, because of whatever I'm going on. So that now we can start breaking down these statistics of having every four people amongst every four people among every an average of four people that we meet every single day is going through emotional problems, or they're going through different emotional problems. That's why you find us here in Smart Talk Cafe. We are having a program where now we are having this group counseling, where now different people can come have a discussion around it at different communities. Right now we are starting here in Makadara, where now we are having these men come, sit down, let's talk, let's have a talk, let's see how was the day, how is the COVID-19 effects affecting you emotionally, so that at the end of the day we can have solutions to these problems, where now people can move forward, where people can learn how can we solve problems. We cannot just solve problems by fighting, but we can solve problems by just discussing, have a talk one way or another. Then number two, also measures that we are having, these things to do with curfew, they're really affecting the economical aspect of it. These people are living, these people, you need to understand, if your man was working and right now he doesn't have a work due to COVID-19, why should you start viewing them differently from who they were? They're just the same people. It's just that the work that they used to go to every single day is not there. So the source of income, if the source of income was at 50,000, now it has reduced to where we are. So the kind of bond that you're going to create, you as two people, and the solution that you're going to create, you as two people, is going to affect the family either way, whether you like it or not. So you coming together as a team and creating a solution towards it doesn't mean that the man is going to be weak. And this, I'm also talking to men, doesn't mean that the man is weak, doesn't mean that the woman now is stronger than the man. No. Whatever you're doing is, as parties or as partners, how can we make sure that we are creating a sustainable environment for us, number one, to survive, number two, for our children to survive, and number three, to make sure that every single people that are being affected by our life are affected positively, so that now we can understand what kind of measures can we also push. Because if Smart Talk Cafe starts with the first step, then now every single person accepts that now we need to move forward. Then now it is easy for us to also push the county levels, and also to push the government, or also different parastatals, to start now also having these things integrated into their systems, where now we have the same way we have HR is the same way we have counseling at the office, where if I'm going to have a meeting and I'm going through a lot of pressure, there is someone I can go to talk to. They can help me have my mindset come into one place. When I'm going to that meeting, I'm going to kill it. If I'm having the negative effects at work, before I go to my wife and project these issues, I have someone that I can talk to. So by the time I'm going to my wife, there is a way I'm going to tell her that, oh, today I had a bad day, and because I had a bad day, this and this and this is affecting. And if we have such kind of a system, also them as partners understand, so that it is a two-way road, where now the respect goes two ways. It's not that one way someone is hiding. Because I always say, I have a friend that I always talk to, and I'll say, also women will never understand the things that men go through until men start talking about them. You see, also men will not understand what women go through in terms of emotions and everything until women start talking. But now you find women have known this for very long, and now they talk about it. Now finding for them, they're creating support systems. They're not waiting for someone somewhere to come and help them, but they have created their own support system. Can we say that this cannot be done the same as men? Also, men, we need to create these support systems. We need to have a place where we can come and cry. There's no problem with us crying. watu wangu. I hope I do not today sound a little bit harsh, but a little bit better. But this, if we start having these conversations, so that now we can start looking at how can we solve trauma, because I always tell them in terms of generational aspects. For me, I grew up in a generation where no matter how much emotional effect your family, your parents, your friends, everyone had towards you, if we didn't have that support system, where now if these negative emotions come, where whom can I go to talk to, whom can I go whom can I go help me solve a certain problem that I'm going through, if it is emotional, because you didn't have that support system. So you find out that people grow up, we have generations and generations of people growing up not knowing where they can put this emotional baggage at, where they can solve these issues. Now they putting it in their subconscious, moving forward in life, pretending that everything is okay. It is normal to suffer, which is not normal. It is normal to say, it is normal for people to go through so much struggle in life, which is not normal. And when they come and try to build their own systems and their own societies, they end up building it in a very bad way, because number one, they have poor coping mechanisms because they didn't know. Number two, they do not respect, or they do not have a positive history when it comes to emotional support, especially at family level and also at professional level. So because we didn't have so much of this, we put so much on our subconscious. So when life came, we made struggles a norm, and forgot that at the end of the day, there are some things that you don't have to struggle for. You can get solutions in one way or another. So you find we made bad things normal, and we made normal things not realistic. So you find because of that, we end up now having generation and generation of people who are going through emotional trauma. They're going through trauma. They're going through they're going through depression, and they really don't know. For them, they're just feeling that they are low, and they're not low. They're going through depression. So by the time they notice these things have happened, they're now committing suicide, or now they're killing other people. So my call to action today is, here at the lab podcast, can we make this thing normal? Can we talk around it? Can we create systems? Here at Smart Talk Cafe, we are creating solutions, trying to help different people on ways in which they can talk, especially for men. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much we say, or no matter how much emotional turmoil it takes, the society, the men also still have their role in the society, in terms of them being the providers and them being the source of direction mostly, and that cannot be removed out of the picture. And we need to look for a way, especially for us men, on how we can bring women into these pictures, where now they can help in one way, because the society is changing. The 21st century is not the same as in the 1980s or 1970s or 1960s. So at the end of the day, how are we making sure that we are creating a sustainable system together? And the only way we can create these sustainable systems is, let's bring these people together, let's talk around this, so that at the end of the day, when I'm talking about development and personal development, you are full, you are emotional cleansing becomes a norm. Counseling becomes a normal thing. Having counseling offices at parastatal level, at private sector, at schools, especially schools, where now these teachers, this stress that they're going through, they can come and talk to people, where these students can also come. My friend, teachers are being stabbed every day, and there's no way they can talk around it. Teachers have found students who are very different from the ones that they left 8 months ago. How can they look at into this? Children, young people, young men especially, because in terms of dropping and the dropout rate, the young men have the highest dropout rate, especially after this 8 months, because right now they did not see the realism of them going to school, when the society today really appreciates those who work hard more than those who have big papers. So how are we making sure we are maneuvering the system towards, or these perspectives and all these things, so that now we can move forward as a society, and we can move forward as a people, as one, so that now we can fight emotional. And I will tell you, today, mental health is going to be a very big pandemic, and it is already big, and it is going to be even bigger than coronavirus, and that is what is going to kill people more. So before it reaches that point, are we ready to speak about this? Are we ready to talk about it? And are we ready to create solutions? For me, I'm ready to create a solution. I'm ready to work. Every single Saturday, you're going to be meeting me under Smart Talk Cafe, where now we are going to talk candidly and being real about these issues, being real about men going through depression, being real about suicide. People are taking suicide every day in Kenya. Every day in Kenya, there is someone who's committing suicide. Not one person, not two people, but 4 people. So what kind of solutions are we making? I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It was great and having this discussion. We are going to have a part 2 next week, that is going to be attached to the emotional intelligence, as I had talked about earlier. So visit our Facebook pages, that is Smart Talk Cafe, Twitter STC254. Let's keep this conversation going. Meet us on LinkedIn, Smart Talk Cafe, and at the lab, at Apple Podcast, at Anchor, that is the Lab Podcast. Join us every single day. Let's talk. Let's continue this discussion on our social media. Let's continue this discussion, so that now we can start forming solutions for those who are ready, or those who have gone through counseling training. Can we look for a way how we can now starting offering these services? And for those who are at private or public sector, let's start accepting those who have done counseling into our spaces, so that now we can start solving these teamwork problems, because teamwork is not only just having forming, performing, storming and all those things. It is also looks at what is the emotional environment of these workers in order to perform, what is the emotional environment for the team in order to perform. So let us talk about around this, and let's create solutions towards mental health problems here in Kenya and in Africa at large. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful weekend. Let's keep the conversation going. Smart Talk Cafe Facebook, STC254 Twitter, STC254 Instagram, Smart Talk Cafe, LinkedIn, and also Morris Andati in all social media pages. Let's talk around this. Thank you, and let's meet next week.